Hymns of the Dharma-Ages, Shozomatsu Wasan. Prefatory Hymn. In 1257, on the night of the 9th day of the 2nd month, during the hour of the tiger, I was told in a dream, entrust yourself to Amida's primal vow, through the benefit of being grasped, never to be abandoned. All who entrust themselves to the primal vow attain the supreme enlightenment. Pure Land Hymns on the Right, Semblance, and Last Dharma-Ages. It is now more than 2,000 years since the passing of Sakyamuni Tathagata. The Right and Semblance ages have already closed. So lament, disciples of later times. Now, amid the 5 defilements, in the last Dharma age, sentient beings are incapable of practice and realization. Hence, the teachings that Sakyamuni left behind have all passed into the Naga's palace. During the Right, Semblance, and Last ages, Amida's primal vow has spread. At the end of the Semblance, and in this last Dharma age, good practices have all gone into the Naga's palace. The Great Collection Sutra teaches that we are now in the 5th period of 500 years. Because people are resolute in conflict and dispute, the pure Dharma is concealed in dormancy. When sentient beings' lifespan of 10,000s of years, through a gradual decline of their karmic reward, decreased to 20,000 years, the age came to be called the, quote, evil world of the 5 defilements. Ignorance and blind passions abound, pervading everywhere like innumerable particles of dust. Sentient beings' wrong views grow rampant, becoming like thickets and forests, bramble and thorns. Filled with suspicion, they slander those who follow the Nembutsu, while the use of violence and the poison of anger spread widely. With life defilement, the untimely end occurs in a moment, and both forms of recompense, oneself and one's environment, perish. Rejecting right and turning to wrong prevails, so that people senselessly injure others. Without entrusting themselves to the Tathagata's compassionate vow, no sentient beings of these times, the last Dharma age, and the 5th 500-year period since Sakyamuni's passing, will have a chance of parting from birth and death. Only by going forth and reaching enlightenment can we benefit others in this burning house. This is the natural working of the vow. We may think that these times belong to the right Dharma age, but in us, the lowest of foolish beings, there is no mind that is pure, true, or real. How could we awaken the aspiration for enlightenment? The aspiration for enlightenment through self-power taught in the path of sages is beyond our minds and words. We foolish beings ever sinking in transmigration, how could we awaken it? Under the guidance of Buddhas who appeared in this world, 3 times the sands of the Ganges in number, we awakened the aspiration for supreme enlightenment. But our self-power failed, and we continued to transmigrate. With the advent of the Semblance and last Dharma ages, and this world of the 5 defilements, the teachings left by Sakyamuni entered into concealment. Only the compassionate vow of Amida becomes widely known, and attainment of birth through the Nembutsu spreads. Of the vows embraced as supreme and all-surpassing, selected through 5 kalpas of profound thought, the vows of immeasurable light and life were made the foundation of the working of great compassion. Concerning the aspiration for supreme enlightenment in the Pure Land path, we are urged to realize the mind that seeks to attain Buddhahood. The mind that seeks to attain Buddhahood is itself the mind that seeks to save all sentient beings. The mind that seeks to save all sentient beings is directed to us through Amida's vow of wisdom. Those who realize this true entrusting that is directed to us attain great, complete nirvana. Persons who enter Amida's directing of virtue to beings and realize the mind that seeks to attain Buddhahood completely abandon their self-power directing of merit, thus benefiting sentient beings boundlessly. When the waters of the mind entrusting to other power enter the ocean waters of Amida's vow of wisdom, then, in accord with the nature of the true and real fulfilled land, blind passions and enlightenment come to be of one taste. All those who deeply entrust themselves to the two aspects of Amida's directing of virtue attain the stage equal to perfect enlightenment. Hence, their mindfulness continues unceasingly. Persons who realize true Shinjin, which is directed to them through Amida's vow of wisdom, receive the benefit of being grasped and never abandoned. Hence, they attain the stage equal to perfect enlightenment. The person who attains the stage equal to perfect enlightenment by the working of the vow of birth through the Nembutsu, being the same as Maitreya, will realize great, complete nirvana. Having immediately entered the stage of the truly settled, on realizing true and real Shinjin, a person will, being the same as Maitreya of the rank of succession to Buddhahood, attain supreme enlightenment. Even the wise who lived during the Semblance Dharma-Age put aside the various teachings of self-power and entered the gate of the Nembutsu, for it is the teaching in accord with the times and with beings. Persons who truly realize Shinjin as they utter Amida's name, being mindful of the Buddha always, wish to respond in gratitude to the great benevolence. When sentient beings of this evil world of the five defilements entrust themselves to the selected primal vow, virtues indescribable, inexplicable, and inconceivable fill those practicers. The Buddha of unhindered light declared, quote, "To benefit the sentient beings of the future, I entrust the Nembutsu of wisdom to Bodhisattva Mahastama Pramta." Full of compassion for the sentient beings of this defiled world, Mahastama Pramta encourages us to say the Nembutsu. He embraces the people of Shinjin and brings them into the Pure Land. Through the compassion of Sakyamuni Buddha and Amida Buddha, we have been brought to realize the mind that seeks to attain Buddhahood. It is by entering the wisdom of Shinjin that we become persons who respond in gratitude to the Buddha's benevolence. It is by the power of Dharmakara's vow that we realize the Nembutsu that is wisdom. Were it not for the wisdom of Shinjin, how could we attain nirvana? It is a great torch in the long night of ignorance. Do not sorrow that your eyes of wisdom are dark. It is a ship on the vast ocean of birth and death. Do not grieve that your obstructions of karmic evil are heavy. The power of the vow is without limit. Thus, even our karmic evil, deep and heavy, is not oppressive. The Buddha's wisdom is without bounds. Thus, even those of distracted minds and self-indulgence are not abandoned. When we reflect on the establishment of the vow, we find that the Tathagata, without abandoning sentient beings in pain and affliction, has taken the directing of virtue to them as foremost, thus fulfilling the mind of great compassion. The saying of the name arising from true and real Shinjin is Amida's directing of virtue to beings. Therefore it is called, quote, not directing merit. And saying the Nembutsu in self-power is rejected. When the waters The minds, good and evil, of foolish beings have entered the vast ocean of Amida's vow of wisdom. They are immediately transformed into the mind of great compassion. Receiving the true cause of birth in the true fulfilled land, through the words of the two honored ones, we dwell in the stage of the truly settled. Thus we will unfailingly attain nirvana. Through the words of the witness and protection of the countless Buddhas throughout the 10 quarters, we should realize that the mind of self-power, aspiring for supreme enlightenment, is incapable of reaching fulfillment. Realization of true and real Shinjin is rare in the defiled world of the last Dharma age. The witness of Buddhas, countless as the sands of the Ganges, reveals how difficult it is to attain. If we had not encountered Amida's directing of virtue for going forth and returning, our transmigration in birth and death would have no end. What could we do then, sinking in this sea of pain? When we entrust ourselves to the inconceivable Buddha wisdom, we dwell in the stage of the truly settled. Those who are born transformed in the Pure Land are of superior wisdom, and they realize the supreme enlightenment. Entrusting ourselves to the inconceivable Buddha wisdom is taught to be the cause of birth in the fulfilled land. Casting off the pain of birth and death since the beginningless past, we are certain of attaining supreme nirvana. This is through Amida's directing of virtue for going forth and returning. Our gratitude for the Buddha's benevolence is truly hard to fulfill. The directing of virtue embodied in Namu Amida Butsu is, in its benevolent working, vast and inconceivable. Through the benefit of the directing of virtue for going forth, we enter the directing of virtue for returning to this world. Through great love, which is Amida's directing of virtue for our going forth, we attain great compassion, which is Amida's directing of virtue for our return. If not for the Buddha's directing of virtue, how could we realize enlightenment in the Pure Land? Amida, Avalokitesvara, and Mahastama Prampta ride on the ship of the great vow. Going out on the ocean of birth and death, they call to beings and bring them on board. Those who deeply entrust themselves to Amida's vow of great compassion should all say Namu Amida Mbutsu constantly. Those who follow the path of sages all take the mind of self-power as essential. On entering the inconceivable working of other power, they truly realize that no working is true working. Eminent Pure Land teachers of India, China, and Japan, out of pity and compassion, embrace us, and guiding us to realization of true and real Shinjin, bring us to enter the stage of the truly settled. Those who realize Shinjin, which is other power, quote, revere the Dharma and greatly rejoice in it, and therefore are my true companions, close quote. Such is the praise of the world-honored one, the master of the teaching. Here ends the hymns on the right, semblance, and last Dharma ages.